The secret to beating Real Madrid and Arsenal's best way of doing it was revealed by an unlikely source only a week before. Sander Berge, the Fulham midfielder, Norwegian, who's also played alongside Martin Ødegaard, had this to say about Arsenal when he was playing for Fulham at the Emirates last week in their 2-1 defeat. He said it's like someone's remote controlling them from row 50 when they're defending off the ball in their 4-4-2. Every single player covers all the right spaces. It's impossible to create an overload. If you caught my live the other day, I talked about this quote and why it might be important against Real Madrid, and so it proved the case. Let me show you these sets of pictures from the games. What we've got is a corner here on minute 14:46. It's cleared by Arsenal. Real Madrid attacking Arsenal's goal. They deal with it. William Saliba, as you can see there, is making his way out the penalty area from the shape that he has held from that corner. At minute 14:53, so only a few seconds on, he finds himself in the left back spot. Go a whole minute on to minute 15 and 53 seconds, he is still in the left back position as Arsenal have reshaped, and Miles Lewis-Skelly is at centre back with Jakub Kivior. And then you go to minute 16:22 when William Saliba eventually starts to move back to centre back as the move breaks down for Real Madrid after a period of sustained possession in which they haven't been able to get past Arsenal. So that quote there from Sander Berge saying every single player covers all the right spaces and it's impossible to create an overload was a massive part of Arsenal's tactics and the discipline and the approach that they needed to stop Madrid. You've got to stop Madrid to get a platform in the game, and then you go and play your football. And I don't think anyone captured that more than the fullbacks. But before we talk about the fullbacks, I want to talk about how everything from the tactics to the fullbacks to the leadership of Saliba at the back, got to say the bravery that Kivior showed coming in, trying to play his football, made the odd mistake in possession, but largely was very good. All of that led to Real Madrid with the midfield in front. It's a whole team effort, we've got to say that. It all led to Real Madrid putting up some of their worst numbers statistically in the Champions League this season. Let me show you their stats compared to their average before they played Arsenal. Of course, they didn't score against us. They averaged 2.3 goals in the Champions League per game. They got an XG of 0.5 against Arsenal. That is the lowest they've recorded in the Champions League this season. They tend to average 2.2 XG per game. With 47% possession against Arsenal, that is lower than their average of 53% across the competition. 15 shot creating actions against Arsenal, way down on their 27.5 per game they normally get in the Champions League in this campaign. And their touches in the attacking third at 106 versus Arsenal, again, way down, 82 down on their 188 that they normally average in the Champions League this season. So, Arsenal and their tactics were huge in stopping Real Madrid getting any kind of foothold in the game, any real sustained possession, and having any real threat when they got in behind. Bar an Mbappe moment, which kind of, I mean, both their kind of moments came from mistakes, like a slip or whatever. Bellingham showed some class, to be fair, with that ball in behind to Mbappe. Other than that, I don't think Real Madrid, other than trying to pounce off an Arsenal error, actually did much to really, break through Arsenal, because Arsenal had every part of that pitch defensively locked off. As I said, the fullbacks were huge to this. I want to give them immense credit too. We've got Timber and Lewis-Skelly starting the game. I wondered whether Ben White might play. I wondered whether he might go for even a more dependable, let's say experienced option in Kieran Tierney, but he trusted Timber and Lewis-Skelly as he has done for so much of this season. And this is where they ranked against Real Madrid for Arsenal for certain key stats. Timber winning the most tackles and also the most tackles and interceptions. Lewis-Skelly second and fourth on that list, both in the top 6 for recovery, third and sixth respectively, with Lewis-Skelly having the third most touches of any Arsenal player in that game. Timber in the top 4 there too. They then switch ranks for carries, with Timber at third and Lewis-Skelly at fourth. Passes received, Lewis-Skelly receiving the third most passes in the game, Timber fifth, and progressive passing distance, 4th ranked for Timber and 3rd for Lewis-Skelly. So both of them ranking right up there for really, really key stats. And as you can see, yes, tackles, recoveries, all that is up there, but touches, carries, passes received, and progressive passing distance and ability to get Arsenal up the pitch was a massive part of the game they had to do, because they are so crucial to everything that Arsenal, the fullbacks have been for a while under Mikel Arteta, but you've got to be, especially if you're going to get hold and control of a team like Real Madrid, and they did. So let's show it on the tactical pad, and of course we've got it right here. We've got Lewis-Skelly. Let's move the players up the pitch, and I've got to say, I predicted that it might be Partey and Rice as more of a double pivot, but Rice was getting right up the pitch. Really brave from Arsenal, and they were building up as we've come to expect like this. In fact, let's just move everyone slightly. Cool. Now, Real Madrid out of possession. This I did predict correct, that they were going to get Bellingham to try double up on Bukayo Saka. But the point is, there was a platform in the game for Arsenal, and it came from Lewis-Skelly and Partey. Lewis-Skelly moving into midfield, they didn't like it, Real Madrid. They couldn't deal with it. And actually, I thought Lewis-Skelly was most impactful in the first 20 minutes because they didn't know what to do. They very quickly brought Rodrigo in, and then they tried to almost really condense this area of the pitch, which we can highlight here. Let's show it. We don't need that. There we go. They tried to condense that middle of the pitch because they knew that Arsenal would want to play, but it didn't matter because Rice and Ødegaard were pulling wide anyway. So Modric and Camavinga didn't quite know what to do. It sucked Bellingham wide. I mean, Rodrigo didn't know whether to go with Rice or not. Modric didn't want to come out that way, and it created spaces in central areas. But to be fair, well, it should have created spaces in central areas if Real Madrid went out to them, but they didn't. They tried to stay quite compact, and so Arsenal, let's give them a football, progress the ball really nicely, either to Kivior into Lewis-Skelly, but mainly wide to Rice. Sometimes Rice would hold this position, Martinelli would come out, Valverde would track, and then you're starting to stretch their defence because they were also worried about Saka out there too. And then there was the odd ball into the Rice. There was the odd run for Martinelli. We had space to go one-on-one with Valverde too. So Arsenal's platform was built by Lewis-Skelly and Timber, being brilliant defensively, as were Saliba and Kivior. It gave Arsenal a platform, a confidence that, listen, Real Madrid aren't hurting us that much. We can play our football. But Arsenal started with a good tempo anyway. And at this point, Partey was spraying passes into Saka, into Ødegaard, enjoying his football. And I felt those two, look, we've seen Arsenal do this in the Premier League, but it's almost like Real Madrid maybe weren't quite prepared enough for it, and actually maybe thought, well, sure, we can stop it in a way, but we're going to rely on our individual quality too. But they couldn't, because Arsenal had complete and utter control of the game from a tactical perspective. Real Madrid couldn't get near them, and then the tweaks they tried to make, it only opened other spaces for Arsenal. Now, of course, the first two goals come from moments of individual quality, as we can see here from Declan Rice. 2 goals from 5 shots. You can see the other 3 shots he had here. This all comes from Opta Analyst, and you can just get an idea there for the precision and the distance in which he struck them. This isn't just on the edge of the area. There's a real distance that ball's had to travel, which means there's even more precision needed on the free kick. To bend it around the wall the way he did was kind of the only way he was going to beat Courtois from that kind of distance and going for that side of the goal. And likewise with the other corner he found, it just had to be perfect. It had to be perfect because Courtois, sensational goalkeeper, was sensational on the day, that he would have got a hand to it. But Declan Rice probably struck two of the sweetest strikes he've ever, I'm including in training, probably the sweetest strikes he's ever had in his career, in his life, ever, from a youngster to now with a football. Probably the best he's ever done it, and what a stage to do it on. Now, Arsenal did improve their attacking quality in the second half too, and it's important to say that it wasn't just individual quality that won Arsenal this game. Arsenal did start to do things differently. I think the two things were a little bit of variety in the wingers. We're going to highlight that with Saka and Martinelli in a second, but also getting more players in the box. I think the kind of cross to Rice that was saved by Courtois, the ball from Saka that rolls across goal, then the second one that rolls across goal, but Rudiger kind of clears it off Camavinga. Those were moments where I think Arsenal would have thought at half-time, we need to be on the end of these because they're not defending that penalty area that well. In fact, Rice even got on the end of a Martinelli cutback that was nearly given as a penalty because it hit the back of Asensio's arm. So Arsenal were having joy, and I think they recognised that and went, pack out the penalty area because there's going to be a chance of some shots here, and they did that. But the first thing they did was get Bukayo Saka running more on the inside. Here we've got his heat map from the whole game. Yes, much more on the touchline, and as you could see from that red to slightly orange area on the inside of the penalty area, you can see starting, that was where he was kind of having a bit of joy against Alaba and Bellingham. I think they really struggled to deal with him, but you can see that a little bit of yellow just in front of zone 14, which is the D on the outside of the penalty area. Those were when I believe he was driving inside. Jude Bellingham couldn't keep up with him, Camavinga couldn't keep up with him, they were committing fouls, and he won the free kicks that Declan Rice put in the back of the net. I don't think Bukayo Saka drove on the inside of Real Madrid once in the first half. I might be wrong, but I don't remember him doing it. He kept going on the outside, he mixed it up, and that was good to see because A, that creates space on the other side, but B, just asks a different question of Real Madrid. Suddenly they're not able to get settled with what we've done in the first half because now Arsenal are throwing a different problem. But Martinelli did the same too. I want to illustrate this here on the tactical pad for a sec. Now what we've got here, in fact let's just make the players a little bit smaller so we can really see the spaces. Do you remember the clearance off the line from Marino's shot, and then the save immediately after from Courtois when Marino had that effort save. This all comes from this moment here when Lewis-Skelly feeds that ball out there right into that little area there, and Martinelli obviously gets the shot away. But the couple of things I want to pick out is, again, our wingers. Let's show them in blue. Martinelli and Saka. They're in the box. They're a bit narrower. It's actually Rice, as we've mentioned, was able to go on the outside a few more times. Well, it's certainly more in this game because, like I said, they weren't really following on the outside. So that was good to see that Martinelli was able to get on the inside a couple of times, that Lewis-Skelly was brave and strong enough to try play those balls. I thought his technical quality and strength throughout was immense, I have to say that. But if I just get rid of that for a second, I also want to highlight how many players, like I said, were in the box. Lewis-Skelly ends this move in the box because he drives in. So that's another player. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's 6 players that end up in the penalty area as Marino's getting his shot away. And this shield of Kivior and Partey right behind as well. You know, from the footage I've watched, I can't even see Saliba and Mbappe on screen, so Saliba's probably watching him. But there you go. They've got a lot of men back there, Real Madrid. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Okay, so who are they missing? Mbappe and maybe someone else. Actually, it's probably more. Anyway, they got men back, but Arsenal flooded the penalty area, had the quality to kind of play through, and Real Madrid could do nothing about it. So while I think, well, Courtois could do something about it, but while I think Arsenal and the individual quality shone through, I think it's important to recognise that what was still a very good first half from our attacking football perspective went up a level in the second half. The defence gave us a platform, and I think it ensured that while our first half attacking football lacked a little bit of quality and incision just to, you know, put us in that lead and give us that goal, that the platform we built from our first half, from nullifying their main threats, it gave us something in that second half in terms of belief and in terms of an understanding of where we could hurt them. And Arsenal built on that second half, getting their wingers a little bit narrower at times, but also actually getting players in the box and backing themselves and really sticking it on Real Madrid, and they did that brilliantly. What a night, what a win. I had an absolute blast. That's a little mini analysis of the game from me. I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know what I've missed, because we're doing a tactical insight on AFTV, me and Nick, previewing the game at the Bernabeu to look ahead of what we might have done in this game that we need to learn for next game. So anything I might have missed, let me know. I hope you enjoy this analysis. Please subscribe to the Goonerverse and the Goonerverse 2 for more, for instant news and reaction on the Goonerverse 2. The home kit's been leaked. We've talked about that. Go check that out too. And yeah. What a night. I'm still buzzing. I hope you are too, and I hope you enjoy this video. Catch you soon.